Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Market Movers. It is Friday, October 22nd. Excuse me. And this is where we do live analysis for day tradings.
Todd, you missed me up. I was
got
like,
a
wait, it's not the 22nd? Wait, is it a different day? I'm in trouble.
I got a hiccup. Like, where'd the hiccup come from? I'm Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple is Brian Caprice. Before Brian and I jump into the hot spots this morning on what do we see, what is moving this morning, where might you want to focus for trading opportunity or potential trading opportunity. Do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. So our hot spots. Oh, you know what? I just put up nat gas. We are going to talk about nat gas. We are going to talk about oil because certainly energy is in play. We are also going to talk about, look at this. We're going to talk about gold. Let me drop this down to a 15-minute chart. We're going to talk about gold and silver. I mean, gold is taking off this morning. In fact, I even want to show you from our previous fib levels. We said that, hey, watch out. Gold might punch through 1800 by the end of the week. Well, yeah, it just punched through 1800, and it's Friday, so we're just making our timeline. It is just above 1805 now. So we're going to talk about gold. We're going to talk about silver. This is an inflation play. So we're seeing inflation. We're seeing it happen in gold and silver, and I think we'll talk about that. We're seeing the energies up a little bit, both gas and oil. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because the nat gas is all, I mean, that's a crazy story, and we're going to have to keep paying attention to it because it just, I mean, earlier this month, it hit 13-year highs up near, just shy of 6.5 per million British thermal units. And then also we're going to talk a little bit about equities. I don't know where we're going to start. The reason we're going to talk about equities is the Dow and the S&P up near all-time highs, flirting with all-time highs. We're going to see the NASDAQ. I think they're even going to open a little in the green. NASDAQ looking a little in the red this morning. It's the one outlier. Why is the NASDAQ looking in the red? It is earnings season. Snap came out with its earnings. Ad revenues are getting decimated over there. The stock is gapping lower 20%. I think more than 20%. And that's also pulling down other social media companies. So all these social media companies are pulling the NASDAQ down, Facebook pulling it down. We'll talk a little bit about NASDAQ. So Brian, where do you want to start? Do we want to start with
I was going to say, you
inflation
just
and gold and
mentioned
silver?
I would say that's gold and silver is the hottest. The NASDAQ story is very interesting too, just for the fact that you got to realize, there are things revenues and things like that are not as good now. But remember, during COVID, they benefited the most. So This is a natural cycle. It's not like that world is collapsing. Whenever manufacturing and services and restaurants and movies and automobiles, when nobody was leaving their houses, what did they do? They went to tech, and that's where we saw basically the NQ soaring, and it was the strongest in the group because we everything was now tech based. And now that things are coming back again, it's just a natural cycle. So it's not, the world is not ending in tech. It's just that this isn't that, when you're soaring high forever and everybody else gets close, it seems like you're weak, but it's not necessarily, it's just coming back to what reality is supposed to be. Remember, everything is a rubber band. It always, that reverse into the mean, and that's what we're seeing in the NQ right now. So,
and it does make sense that the other things are moving up as people start consuming those goods and services. And the NASDAQ, it's okay as people move their money around. I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
So,
And remember, if we get bad news, if we all start, if we start to get bad news again, everything else will go down and it will continue to pop. So it's, it's take from one to what was I saying? Like rob Peter to pay Paul. It's you're taking from one and bringing to the other anyway. So I would say
you want to share your screen though, by the way.
Oh yeah, that always helps too. Thanks, Todd.
I'm gonna flip Brian's screen up as he talks about gold or silver, but.
See, guys, it's Todd this morning. It's not me. It's Todd. It was questioning whether it's 22nd or not. Yeah. So I would say right now, I mean, currency front, it's pretty flat right now. There's been a lot of retracements. The dollar CAD looks like it hasn't moved at all. Dollar CAD had a huge pop yesterday morning and then pulled all the way back. And basically everybody saw the dollar CAD, the CAD's news this morning. And not only did it increase from where it was previously, it went farther than that. with no spikes. I mean, it's all the last basically 24 hours, it's been nothing but preparing for this news release, and it came in more or less as exactly as expected by the market. So we're not seeing a huge move there. The pound is a little bit lower, and the retail sales actually was quite a surprise. Everybody expected it to be positive. There was a revision last time, but it came in negative. And then we have all the PMI data, the manufacturing for Germany and France, and Germany gave us a kind of a mixed number. Pound overall was great. We have the US version of this coming in a little bit later. We're talking about where is it here? UK recovery, regains momentum in October, but supply shortages. We'll hear that all over the place. UK inflation bets hit the highest since BOE independence. A lot of this is all kind of inflation gauge, and we're hearing the same stories again and again and again. It's supply shortages and what's going to happen, and inflation. Driving back from the boys' practice last night, I guess CNBC conduct various polls because they're a media outlet. They need to have those things, and they were talking that. It was over 80% of people said that their number one concern right now is not COVID anymore. It's inflation and what's going to happen with inflation. They said it's the highest it's been in, basically since the last market crash. And they said it's abnormally high, but that COVID is no longer the main issue for people. It's what's happening with inflation. And, in that same time, a little bit later after that, they started talking about inflation in the energies. We know that energy has been, gold is continuing to pop, I guess, on that one. But, again, here is the UK session. We've always talked about this, big, little. This is quite a big movement. I mean, it's a Friday. There's nothing really, oil-wise, there's no major, unless I missed that somebody invaded somebody else in the Middle East, there's nothing really to generate a $2 move in the overnight session in oil. Right. So,
and that volatility, by the way, that is great trading opportunity. I mean, we've been blowing through short duration binary options. It does create. It's moving around. Is definitely moving
this is an entire day's worth of movement just in the European session, which is not considered the oil moving session. Yesterday was a perfect example. Not really a whole lot, and then bam, we had a $3 move in oil yesterday, which, by the way, retraced almost all the way back to where it started at the end. So again, just a lot of volatility back and forth. And again, we pushed up. We're kind of doing a little bit of a top. We've had some selling over here before. So could this be that this was in preparation for a short, in oil today? It could be. Natural gas is kind of the same scenario. And kind of how I got over here with these two is, again, you can see natural gas is already kind of topping here. They had whatever person it was on. It was one of the energy ministers. I don't know what his name was. He said, yes, we're well aware of the and these were his words, the overinflated prices of natural gas right now. It's something that's being worked on and will be rectified shortly. I don't know what the heck that means, what they're going to do with that one, but they're basically acknowledging the fact that, again, natural gas prices are overinflated and it needs to be adjusted before the wintertime. And then again, there's this great article here this morning in the Wall Street Journal talking about how natural gas prices fall from its peak. It's not quite as high, but yet we've had a warm autumn. Remember, everything now it's not called global warming anymore, even though that's the problem. It's climate change, right? You got to change it so it covers more things. Like natural disasters never happened before this, but But anyway, we've had a warmer autumn.
That gas is fascinating, though. I mean,
it's just going higher, yeah. And yesterday, and there was another surplus yesterday.
Just shy of $6.50. I mean, 13-year highs, and it wasn't even cold yet. Which is what's the head scratcher. It's like who was, and now this is what the Wall Street Journal, and we saw this from the inventory reports, and I know you're about to talk about. We are starting to get surplus finally, in preparation because no one's turned their heaters on yet. I haven't turned mine on yet. I don't know. Have you turned yours on yet?
For what?
Your heater?
No.
Right? So no one's turned their gas heaters on yet. I don't think anyone's turned any of their heaters on yet. So no heaters on. They're able to the storage facilities are able to stock up on supply. So
and they're talking about, and in the Wall Street Journal they say the weather is perfect over much of the country, and the perfect weather does not bode well for natural gas demand. But yet we're at 13-year highs. So yeah, tell me it's not a manipulated market.
How does that? I'm just trying to figure out.
My Kermit, my tea. I need my tea. Change my mind.
Yeah, we were actually talking about this earlier. It's like in the Midwest, for the most part, outside of the farms, everyone has their nat gas piped into their home. On the West Coast, I think everything's nat gas. I don't think anyone.
They don't need heaters on the West Coast. They have a drought, so it'll be a desert there soon. They don't need heaters.
They need water storage for each house. Every house is
Yes.
going to have their own little water tower.
Yeah, they're going to go completely green, and it's not because they care about the environment. It's because the $7.37 a gallon gas. There was that picture that went viral from California. But anyway, guys, as far as trading today, I would say both of them are set up. I mean, you can see that we've had a spike here from 7 o'clock up. This is an area of sellers as well as we have an area just kind of sitting right above here at 540. So both of them are kind of set up. I mean, like I said, we heard those comments last night. Obviously in the overnight, you're not going to see it in the futures market. But the question is, with as hot as it's been, we have people commenting on it. Everybody's focusing on it now. And again, the energy sector is where the original inflation all started from.
Yeah.
If you remember, like when we were seeing the inflation reports, the CPI reports, almost all of it was sitting in the energies. Now it's caught up across the board, but energies was the leader. Is that going to be the leader now in the kind of reduction of this? So I would say look for opportunities short today, really in both of them. And I know oil spiking, people were like, "Oh my God, this is great." But remember, one of the common things that we see is European session one direction, U.S. session in another one. And this is pretty much, I mean, you can see the turn was literally the European session. Straight up, again, will that bring us right back down again like we kind of saw here? Down, up, and we're kind of ending kind of right where we started around that 82.80 mark. We're at 83.24. Do we come back down again? Do we close at 82.50-ish? There's a couple different levels in here, but I would say, look for some opportunities to, potentially short them today. I think that would be decent because again, it's under a microscope now. So, yeah. I guess we can cover gold real quick too as well.
Yeah, why
We
not?
mentioned, huh?
Why not?
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned earlier the week. We wouldn't be surprised if we see gold back at 1,800. I've been saying for a while it deserves to be above 1,800. Is it its time yet? No, but it's getting close. But I felt like it always, all week I've been talking about how it needed to be over 1,800. This morning now, and again, this has been it's what, a $15 move at this point. Over $15, $16 move in the last hour since the U.S. trader has started to come online around 8. So again, we're over the 1,800 mark now. Question is, do we start to form a base and we're using the 1,800? Is this old area of sellers here that we hit before? Is this area now going to be the launch point? And again, we'll turn this yellow at this point. Is this the launch point? Is 1,800 now the new base? That's going to be the big question. Because again, if that many people are worried about inflation and we're seeing inflation everywhere, it's hard to say that it's not real. And the Fed is basically at this point said that it is not real.
I think they've already started to pivot, gently on that.
They were talking about
saying.
We had the one comment yesterday too. Remember that he said we'll find out whether it's transitory next month or not. It's kind of like they keep putting this line on there, but
they are kind of. We acknowledge that this is going on, and it might go on longer than we had originally anticipated. So they're backing away slowly. So, but
And last night they talked about it too. They were saying that is Powell, a lame duck, appointee at this point, and that basically the entire board around him now is all hawkish on tapering and raising interest rates, except Powell is what they were saying. And of course, they always disagree, and they're saying, no, there's other people too, but it's going to get to the point where everybody's going to be like, man, how did Jamie Dimon know this? So they're going to
or Paul Tudor Jones, or
or
you and me for
that
saying
matter. They're going to have to make an abrupt change very fast because it's going to get out of hand. So
I watch what's going on with the groceries, the gas to fill up a car, to do anything, whatever it is. I mean, we see it. We're experiencing it. I just got my property tax bill. And then we just saw it with, they're going to jack, the government can't tell you, or with the Fed saying, don't worry about it, but the government, because the Fed's not officially part of the government, right? They're going to jack up benefits by 6% as a cost of living increase.
Well, cost of living comes from inflation.
Yeah, that cost of living increase is inflation. That is what listen, just to give you the same buying power that you had last year, we're going to have to give benefits out 6% higher so you can still afford the food that you were buying last year. That
And this is why, again, the Fed has to remain a third party, because I think there's been too much political appeasing, keeping the markets as hot as they were. One president gauged his success off the rate of the market. The second president now is taking advantage of it as well. And supposedly all this is going to disappear, but at the end of the day, it's a major cause. And again, inflation is a weird game. This low rate environment across the world and currencies is something that you don't see too often. We've already seen one nation start raising interest rates. As soon as other ones, and again, it's not an if, it's a when.
It's when. It has to happen.
They are all. And next year is the year. 2022 is going to be the year for currencies. It'll probably be the best year we've had in probably 10 years for currencies, because so many different countries are going to be raising interest rates. When you raise an interest rate for a country, guys, it makes your currency more powerful. So even though they're going to telegraph these things and we're going to see them, it's going to be a jockeying of who's going to be strong. Things like the carry trade, which we don't have right now because there's no interest rates whatsoever. Things like the carry trade, old systems will come back, and they'll be now maneuvering where you look on Wednesdays, like, why the heck did that jump? It'll be called, you'll start hearing things like, oh, there's this thing called the carry trade. Yeah, it's not new. It's been out forever. It just, you have to have, interest rate differentials to be able to come up with it. When everybody's at zero, it doesn't work. All that's coming back. So it's going to be a great year for that. So, like I said, it's a Friday. I wouldn't say there's a ton moving around again. The VIX is kind of flat, not doing a whole lot. The dollar index basically flat, not doing a whole lot. ES is banging off that 45.50. You can see that it's having some issues again. It's a new target that it can hit. You mentioned.
Take a look at the Nasdaq, because the Nasdaq is the one. It's the one outlier. The Dow and the S and Russell, they're all nothing.
Yeah,
the Nasdaq's just a little bit lower. Anything in here that you're seeing on the charts?
Right now, we got a little bit of time, and I'm delayed a little bit. I'd say, honestly, right now, if it pulls down a little bit more, there is a level sitting right there. And again, I'm slightly delayed on this one. If we pull back into here for that 9:30 open, sitting right here, that could be a little kind of small, long, again, short duration contract, base long, would be sitting in here and pulling right back up to the high. Whoops, right there. So I'm a little bit off on the drawing.
What level is that?
That's sitting right at 15,428. And remember, guys, Nadex's prices are slightly different because it's an indicative value. So go across and find the same basing area here inside of the Nadex platform if you're going to use it. But again, the shorter duration contracts, maybe not the 20s, probably the 2 hours in this one. But if everything else is green across the board, the Nasdaq will probably follow as well. It'll get drug. It'll be the weaker one, but it'll probably get drug. Just be cautious. If we get up into, again, this 15,470 level, we had a very strong push off of that at 4 o'clock at the close yesterday. It's an area where you gotta respect the sellers, the power that they drove this down in. You gotta watch it. So yeah, that's what that.
We're actually, and interestingly enough, we're actually getting very close to that.
It's pulling down, yeah. It's pulling into it.
So there you have it. So it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens when the retail trader comes in 27 minutes and they get a chance to digest all of that earnings.
Like I said, yeah, the VIX being low like this. Again, it has this last little spike before, which is fine. We'll see where it's opening. Again, remember, guys, VIX starts to go negative, which it's kind of looking like it wants to roll back in that direction. That's positive for all the indices. So right now, the volatility has not really changed. There's no kind of crazy bit of news. The only thing that I'd watch out for today is Powell is speaking at 11 o'clock. Okay. Now, it is not a U.S.-based news release or a press conference. It is an online discussion panel talking about monetary and financial stability challenges to central banks with an S around the world. With the South African Reserve Bank. So it's not a U.S.-specific piece, but again, we'll be talking later on today. Always some potential sparks from that, as well as a Treasury currency report. And again, we already know who they're going to flag in that one, but there won't be any surprises there. So that's the only hiccup for today. Besides that, look for a Feel Good Friday based for the news we've seen.
Yeah. All right. Well, then with that, any questions for Nadex? Email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Any questions for Brian? Brian is accessible. Support at keeptradingsimple.com. What were we looking at? What did we talk about today? We were a little bit all over the map, but for the most part, we stuck to inflation, checking that gold and silver. Gold popping higher, silver coming with it. Certainly an indication those inflation markets are starting to get hot again. Energies, we're seeing a little bit of inflation in both a rise in oil and nat gas. Check some levels in there. We do have a lot of supply going on here in the United States. Our reserves are going up, but again, we're seeing some activity there. So if you're looking for hot spots, check out those energy markets. Lastly, equities. Equities mostly just taking a pause at the moment, with the outlier being the Nasdaq opening a little bit lower. Other than that, I hope everyone enjoys their weekend. I know it's still relatively nice out there around. So, yeah, get outside and enjoy some time out before winter starts locking us down. Everyone have a great weekend and good luck in the markets.